Hey guys, welcome back for another thought for the day. So today we are on part 7 of O.I.L from The Last Dance, and we are going to be talking about discipline today. So discipline is about training yourself to do something or to be something that is outside of what your regular piece is. And discipline is taking what's in your mind, so taking that mentality and making it or demonstrating it out in physical form. That's how I look at it. And so in that, we need to consider what our disciplines are and how we are shaping our disciplines and where our disciplines coming from. So your disciplines really should be, in my opinion, dictated by the assignment that you're given and where God is calling for you to be. And we see that when we look at Michael Jordan. So there are 2 points where for me discipline sticks out, and that was when they lost to the Detroit Pistons and Michael was like, I'm not going to deal with this no more. I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to build myself up. I'm going to bulk myself out. And so he disciplined himself in that. But the other was when he'd come back from baseball and they had lost, but he knew that he needed to discipline himself. He knew he needed to train himself so that he could get back into the flow of what it meant to be a basketball player. And in that, I thought it was really interesting because he didn't have a basketball body anymore. He had transformed and transitioned to a baseball body. And his trainer told him, like, this is going to be difficult. But in that, he pushed through and he was really, really focused. And he allowed for what he wanted or what his end goal was, which was to be a champion, to get another championship, to get him to this next step. And so with that, there are 2 scriptures that I want to hold up. The first is Proverbs 25:28. The New Revised Standard Version says, like a city breached without walls is one who lacks self-control. So discipline really is about self-control. It is about sitting and saying, this is what I want, this is what I need, and I am going to not engage in this. I'm not going to do this so that I can see or experience something greater. And so a lot of times we need to ask ourselves and question, where is our self-control? But with that, Hebrews 12:11, the New Revised Standard Version, also gives us some things to ponder on in regards to discipline. And that says, now discipline always seems painful, right? Now discipline always seems painful rather than pleasant at the time, but later it yields the peaceful, fruitful righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So it is clear that discipline is painful. And I think when we look at Michael Jordan and those 2 moments where I said he was disciplining himself, was that those were, in my opinion, I think if we really sat and asked him about those experiences, he would probably be able to talk to some of the painful moments in that, right? So I believe that after they lost to the Detroit Pistons, he gave up his summer, right? And that's painful. Like, you, so this time of break that you should have, you've given it up to train yourself. He also took on more weights, right? Like the actual weights, and had to lift. So that's pain on your body. Like if you worked out, if you've lifted weights, you know that the beginning part of training in that is painful. But he put on weight and they won the next time they came up against the Detroit Pistons, right? But also consider him coming back from baseball. One, you have to reform, retrain how your body is shaped and managed. And while he was doing that, training to get his body back to full basketball movement, he was filming a movie and still trying to train, right? And those call hours for movies can be long and can be arduous. And we also have to consider that it was a cartoon movie, so there's some components and some things to that. But after doing that, he got on the floor with professional basketball players and went ham on the floor and trained himself. So there's some pain in that, right? And so we need to be comfortable in what the pain of discipline looks like and know that this is uncomfortable, but it's okay, and I'm gonna make it to the other side. Because we know that it's going to produce something that yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness. And so one revelation that came out on Friday by Reverend Ted, in his own space was him talking about peace and what peace was, and how peace is about bringing a wholeness to things, right? So we know that the discipline that we are in is about bringing a wholeness to us, right? So consider, if you've ever been on a diet, there's a discipline to that, but we know that when we discipline ourselves, there's a wholeness that we feel from whatever that looks like. Or if you work out, there's there's a wholeness to feeling that way. Or if you discipline yourself in regards to studying and saying for 2 hours each day I'm gonna study, there's a complete wholeness to that, right? So it is to understand that the discipline that we place ourselves in is to bring a wholeness, a fullness to whatever we are assigned to, right? Because we know that we've walked through some things already. We've walked through our mentality, our identity, our assignments, right? And so we need to bring a wholeness to that. And we know that when we're disciplined in what we do, that even this concept of being a part of a team, we bring a wholeness to our team, right? So remember, it's really, really important to be disciplined in whatever you're doing and wherever you're at. So one book that I do want to offer, and I think would be helpful in developing this discipline or developing your disciplines, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a book that I'm currently reading with my work. Shout out to Young Life. And we're reading that, and it's been extremely inspirational and for me to question some of my disciplines and how I have navigated my days and my work so that I can get the best out of them. And know that creating disciplines is a work. It's not something that just magically happens overnight. It is a consistent pushing into things. So with that, I want to leave you with 4 questions. The first is, what areas of your life are you missing self-control? Are you missing discipline, right? Like, we've already made this clear that there is a mentality that we need to have, but there are also assignments that have been given to us. And so the assignments that have been given to us, we got to develop some discipline in that, right? So when I had to write a 60-page paper for grad school, I had to discipline myself to sit and say, 3 hours out of this day, I'm going to just sit and I'm just going to write. I'm going to sit in this space. So there's a discipline. So if I was just like, oh, I'm not going to read this week, that's a lack of self-control. So where in your life is there an assignment for you? Is there something that you should be going into, but you're lacking discipline? You're lacking self-control. And ask yourself and be honest with yourself and be okay with that, right? Like, the ability to achieve is the understanding that you can first admit where the problem is. So the question on the table is, where are you lacking self-control? Where are you lacking discipline? The next is, are you okay with the pain that comes from discipline? And I say that in the sense of, when you work out, so I've been doing some workouts with my roommate, and there is some pain that comes in, and like sometimes we'll look at each other and we'll be like, girl, do you feel that pain in your thighs? Do you feel that pain in your arms? And you have to be okay with that. And okay with it in the sense of, I know that I'm feeling it, but I'm not going to let it stop me because I'm going to push forward. And that's the okay that we need to be okay with, right? Like, that's the okay in the pain. To know that I'm feeling it, but if I push through it, I'm going to get to something that's better on the other side. So are you okay with the pain of your discipline? The next is, where are you trying to be productive? You need to ask yourself, where are you trying to be productive? Because if you don't know where you're trying to be productive, you're not going to know where discipline is needed or where you need to work things out and focus them on. The last question is, what disciplines or habits do you need to develop? And that may be a conversation with a mentor, right? We talked about mentors. That might be a conversation where you consider the team, like what is needed for the grander thing. But these are the questions that you need to ask in regards to developing discipline. So be okay with that. Know that discipline is important because it brings about a wholeness. It brings about a completion to our assignment. And we are here to complete the assignments that God has given us. So let's push forward.